It's gonna be the Brotherhood, right? Granted, I may not be as active in the chats, but it's one of those things where you have, 100 brothers, people you can reach out to, right? If they're just in the group, they're there to help you out, right? You can ask questions, you can bounce business ideas, whatever relationship ideas, whatever it is, that they are there to help. I went to the retreat back in Orlando in December, and I took a lot of good things away, right? Just when you're with, that amount of other people who have similar mindsets to you, whether that's in business, relationships, um, work, life, uh, you figure out what things that they've done wrong, where, okay, let's not do that, or things that you can do that are helping them be successful. And I think having such a diverse group of people who are trying to grow and people who are at a good spot and are willing to share that knowledge, you get the best of both worlds. And I think the biggest two things is you learn mistakes from others, right? So you know not to make them, which I think is huge, because that saves you a lot of time, money, heartache. And then you learn what has helped others be successful, right? That obviously you always see people on YouTube, you'll see people on social media that will tell you, oh, this is what you need to do, but they don't really have anything to back it up, right? A lot of times, like, they have a Facebook page of 100 people, they popped up out of nowhere, and now they're selling courses. You don't get that with Uncaged. You have people that are doing real numbers that are actually very successful in business.
That's really cool, man. Well, before we hop into this, why don't you tell the guys who you are, what you do, and then we can really get into it.
My name's Clayton Shivers. I am a payments technology software broker. So what I do is I provide payment technology that's integrated with business management software that will essentially help you run your business, stay more organized, bring in more sales. Uh, I've been doing this for about 5 years. I was doing it in conjunction with my active duty service. I recently separated from the Army in September of 25 and full forwards into entrepreneurship. And I found Uncaged probably about 6 to 7 months before I got out. And I knew the thing that I wanted in the Army was that tight, close-knit group. And so the rest is history, and that's why I'm here.
Man, no, that's cool. I'm glad you brought that up because I was actually is the first thing I wanted to talk about is like, you know, we've got a lot of guys, whether they're active duty or prior, all different walks of life, all different reasons why they may or didn't necessarily want to join or different branches and all different and even yourself, like you come from a very prestigious background when it comes to your experience. And you know we see a one, it's like the flip side of two coins. Like on one side, like that brotherhood and that camaraderie is just it's ingrained in you, right? Like you especially if you get out of the military, like you kind of essentially lose that. And so we see some guys that are just like, man, they're looking for that level of relationships everywhere they can grasp to try and find it. Now, unfortunately, a lot of them, from what we've heard, don't find it. And but then also there's the other piece where you have guys that experience real brotherhood from their military background, and there's nothing else that'll ever top that. There's nothing else. And maybe that's just their mindset, but like there's no one else on this planet that'll have your back as much as some of the men and women that you served with. And I obviously, like, right, there's no greater love from a man than this, that he laid down his life for a friend, right? But like, what has been your experience with your military journey and then finding a group like Uncaged? Is it like these fucking guys think they know what brotherhood's like, right? Like, it's like what was your kind of mindset stepping into this? You're like, who the fuck are these guys? Like, are these guys really gonna have my back like they claim they do? Like, what was that experience like for you?
So the experience for me, it was a lot like when I first started, I was like, there's just no way, right? This is a group of people who met on social media, right? and now they claim to, make people better. And at the end of the day, it's one of those things, it's what you put into it, all right? When you don't put a lot into it, you're not going to get a lot out of it, right? That's just the common law of the world, right? What you put in is what you get out. And and honestly, at first I was like, oh, there's just no way. But I think that was my own hesitation, all right? Is my own hesitation. And then I finally decided to go to a retreat, right? So you go to a house with also people you know on social media, but 20, 30 other people that you've never met before. And you think, oh, is this going to be awkward? Or what is this, right? And 2 hours in, it felt like I was, back hanging out like on the line with my soldiers, right? Like we're sitting there, we're shooting the shit, and there was no difference, right? There was no bravado, there was no ego, there's no I have this, there was no I have that. It was generally people talking, having a good time. And ever since then, right, I've tried to become more engaged because I do know now that this is a group of people that I have and across the country, right? Like, hey, aren't you from Tennessee? I'm going to be in Tennessee. Let's grab lunch or dinner. And what that ties back into what I originally said is what you put into it, right? You have to relationship building. It's the same way as when you first walked into your basic training platoon or your unit. You didn't know anyone, but they all had your back. And if you focused on spending time building those relationships with those with your fellow soldiers, it's the same way outside of it. The difference is uh, in the Army, you're forced to build those relationships. You're forced to uh, be in that team environment. Here is if you're not forced to. So if you're not willing to build with others, then it's just not going to work. But if you are, there's not a better group out there.
Hmm. No, I love that. And I love, a lot of us, like, admittedly, like, the social media is great to keep us connected in between those retreats and in between those meetups. Like, anytime you get to, you know, hang out and get like real, like, invaluable time in this physical same room as another one of the guys, it's just an incredible opportunity. And then we have, we leverage the digital landscape to be able to like keep us connected in between. But no, I agree with you 100% that it's like once you start to get around these guys and get in the same rooms and see how they walk, how they talk, how they act, see that they're the same people online as they are in person, like it changes the game, at least in my own experience. And it's cool too because I agree, unfortunately, like online, you don't really know what is being taught based off theory or like practicality or just like real life, actionable advice. Because, you get these guys and we see them online, and even some of our own guys could probably be mistaken by this, right? Like they have this quote unquote success, right? The highlight reel on social media. And you're like, fuck, man, I'm gonna have to go hang out with this guy all weekend long. Like, I know he's gonna be a dick, right? And then, like, you get there though, and it's like, holy shit, like this dude is literally just like me. He just is a couple of chapters ahead of me. And so to be able to like be in that room and see that they are who they say they are, for the most part, right? Like we've had to let a few of them go because they weren't. But like that's why what's so cool about what we're doing is we're very protective over this because A, we don't want that image going around of us, but also like B, like I can't think of anything worse or more detrimental than someone coming into an organization like this and like truly believing that they found the place, A, to call home, B, like, others are going to hold them accountable, but like then, they're like, oh, these guys are doing real things. So I can, you know, believe me, hear me when I say this, trust but verify, but they're like, I can trust what this guy says is real. And then this dude loads them full of horse shit, and then they go out and they fucking fuck up 6, 9, 12 months of their life. Now, hopefully, over that course of time, they realized that maybe they were a little too blinded by it, didn't vet them enough, and learned a valuable lesson over that. But like, fuck, man, I'd hate for that to come from our group. But it's been really cool to see that that hasn't been the case, and that these guys do truly fucking care and want to just see each other win. And I mean, bro, I know you got to experience that firsthand. I mean, you implemented perfectly when you came because like we were able to shoot the shit with you, fuck with you some, but like you added value when there was position for you to add value, and that was very much well received and thanked. But then also you shut the fuck up and you paid attention when there was other people that you knew could genuinely like pour value into you. And that's the same way I operate, and a lot of these guys do. And so like I think that it speaks volumes about your character, who you are, and like what you're willing to do. Because as you can imagine, and as you're experiencing, like this shit ain't for everybody. So it's nice to know other people got your back.
100%. I agree. Uh, it's a tough world out there. It really is when it because at the end of the day, everyone, regardless, has ulterior motives, all right? Like selfish motivations, it's only natural if you're human, right? You have things that you want from somebody, right? But I think where the real value comes in is when you're willing to pour more into the glass than you are willing to take out of the glass, right? Pour out of it. I saw that, right? Like you mentioned, like, sometimes people happen 6, 9, 12 months. That kind of goes back to my previous point. When we first started was that, hey, you learn what not to do, right? Hopefully that doesn't happen where, people come in. Well, I haven't seen it in my time, and it's been over a year now, because I think I joined like, yeah, December, January of 25 and nothing but great things. The packs are something that I want to talk about a lot that I like. So you have like the Carolina pack. So it was North and South Carolina, but then you realize we just didn't have enough people between the two,
Yeah.
so we just called it the Carolinas. And we stay in touch in there, right? It's much more nimble, I think. Anytime there's a small team, it can feel very daunting to someone joining a new group with 120 members and then having to say what your questions are, right? When you don't know half of them. But then when I think I met a lot of the Carolina pack at the retreat, and now we will sit in there, we'll talk. I'll see. Granted, like I don't know, I'm not one of the people who's in the group chat, right? Like you're busy, but when I see things and I hear, hey, great things, I always try to, hey, good job, right? Or give my 2 cents when it's warranted.
Mhm.
And and I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. I didn't know about the packs until like I think I was like 6 months in. I was like, damn, well, I got people that are like 2 hours from me. Like, hell yeah, I want to be in it.
Yeah, man. No, and that's what's cool about like what we're trying to build is everyone has different learning styles. Everyone has, different levels of bandwidth. So like we got some guys that thrive on the group chat setting, right? Like they can be in there relatively all day. They can have it, pulled up behind them or above them or whatever. And there's immediate 24 instant access to all these men across the country. Whereas there's some people that would rather just deal with the people locally, right? Like where the packs come in. And it is that smaller, more intimate group and you guys know each other a little bit more like deeply than like you said some of the rest of the guys. Then you have the guys that like appreciating getting on calls and getting on FaceTime with guys and really getting to know who they are and watching their body language and watching how they respond to things and just kind of sizing them up, if you will, but in a good way. And then, of course, you've got the regional meetups. You have the quarterly retreats and stuff like that, where
Mhm.
you get to break bread with each other and stuff. And so it's been cool to kind of see how different people respond to different, applications. Because there's some guys that live in the chat that won't get on calls. There's guys that get on every call but haven't been on the in the chat in months, right? There's some guys that do nothing but show up to the retreats. But when they show up to the retreats, they're pouring immense amounts of value in. And the last piece I'll say, something that you brought to my attention, is what's always fun about seeing communities like this, because I've been around others. And unfortunately, some of the other ones, and I hate this because it puts bad taste in people's mouth, but also it just hurts them from understanding networking and just community the way I believe it should be. But like I've been in the other groups where it's like, hey man, Clayton, what can you do for me? Right? Like, oh, can you share this post for me? Can I get on your podcast? Can you buy my book? Like, can you use my service, but I'm not going to use your credit card processor, right? Like there's a lot like that. But what's cool and what you were saying is when you have a community of people, and I don't care if it's Uncaged or somewhere else, if you can go find this somewhere else or if you can build it your own somewhere else, but when you have this community of people where each individual is focused on how can they pour value into the group, right? So each person is bringing their one area of expertise, their one field of, experience into the central community of a group. When you yourself show up and give your one piece, there will be 10 coming back towards you that it was stuff that you needed. And it's all because everyone's like, how do we think about improving the quality of the group versus what can y'all do for me? And in my opinion, and we're always working to be better and we're not perfect at it, but like it's been a real refreshing opportunity to see people like yourself and some of the others that are just like, hey, how can I show up and serve? And I think it's been great.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's like because it makes you almost feel like when you're in a group that is like share my post, do this, it's superficial, right? It makes you uncomfortable. I think it makes anyone uncomfortable, right? Because when either you're paying to be somewhere or someone's doing this for you, it's like I believe that you should have to want the person who wants to help you has to want to help you, right? Not feel forced, right? And when someone does good, like it's only natural as humans to want to give back, right? Like, oh, you did something nice for me, let me do something nice for you. And it kind of builds a fake culture, like, oh, we're all nice here, but underneath, like everyone just is, after their own motives. And there's hasn't been anything in a year, right? I thought, oh, there's everyone's gonna join, they're gonna hit us up, see what we can do. No, send friend requests. They'll send friend requests, like your post, and then like, but there's no, hey man, like I got this $10,000 book. I remember there was this one guy, right? I was on a podcast one time, right? It was like when I first started like really trying to grow on social media. And it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna put you on this veterans page, blah blah blah, this whole 9 yards, right? But it's like, yeah, but just after that, just like I just want to make sure you sit down and you talk with me and just really keep an open mind. Okay, we was on the podcast and we did it. And then so we sit down and we talk. He's like, I'm gonna tell you the price after, right? Then he gets to the price and it's like a $40,000 fucking life book. Like he's like, and you can take out a loan for it. I'm just like, so, and I asked, like, again, so what's this like? It's going to help you stay more organized, be a better person. And, maybe you can even invest this $40,000 into your business. And like the loan was at like a 25% APR. And I was just like, bro, fuck you. No, it's just like, who's going to do this? Like, what, just for a book? So I get unrestricted access to you. And you just told me you're just starting out doing this. So, like, what credentials do you really have? All right. I understand, like, some people may need a life book or a life coach. And, I think if, and I don't think there was anything inherently wrong with what his message was. It's just one of those things that the type of person that you want is for $40,000 price point. I think anybody, if you said, hey, for $40,000, I'm going to solve all your problems in life, I think everybody would raise their hand and say, fuck yeah, I'm in. But that wasn't the case, and that wasn't the value prop here. And that was like, I was like, wow. So people, you get on things, you say here, you share your story. I don't think it ever got published either, that podcast. I haven't seen it. But like, what I'm trying to say is that I hadn't encountered that with Uncaged, right? Just like, hey, get you to the finish line and then like, try to sell you their course. That's something I hate that with a passion. Nothing wrong with selling courses, but I think there's a way to do it that actually provides value for those that are around you.
Right. No, for sure. And that's so you said something earlier about selfish intentions and then like, talking about the story you just told, there's a way for me to like kind of tie it in together, right? And I've been very vocal since we started this that like I started Uncaged selfishly because it's exactly just what I needed. And it was like one of those
Mhm.
situations where I was like, well, fuck, man, if I need something like this bad, I know there's other people out there that need it this bad. And if I'm saying it, there's a bunch of people thinking it. And so, Uncaged was built selfishly because I know that men like myself thrive in a community like this, both being held accountable, but also being, held to a higher standard of like competition, right? Like healthy competition. And
Mhm.
when it came to the whole credentials thing, right? like bro, like Uncaged, one of our biggest like differentiators is Uncaged isn't about Zach Williams, right? Like I'm really fucking good at like three things, right? Like that's it, you know? And when you look at the other group of guys, there's other guys that are really fucking good at one, two, three, four, five things, like, you know, just a very finite, a very niche specific series of information that
Hmm.
maybe some of the others have, but the majority don't. And it's about like collaborating. It's about how do we join forces? It's about how do we share information and knowledge, to your point. Like I've got 20 years of experience in what I do. There's very few people in the group that have that level of knowledge in my specific skill set. And for those that aren't, even if they are interested in going down that road, which I openly welcome, is they're never going to catch up to me, at least not for the next probably fucking decade, right? And I don't mean
Hmm.
that to be egotistical at all. I'm leveraging that by saying like there's 50 of us in the group that have, you know, decade plus experiences in our specific industry and vertical niche, whatever you want to call it. And so that's the power, is having all these other people, like we were saying earlier, focus on pouring value into the group, where it's like, holy shit, now it's not Zach Williams is really good at three or four things and has 2 decades of experience. It's Uncaged is really fucking good at 100 things and has, you know, 4,000 years worth of experience cumulatively,
Collectively, yeah.
right? And that's the
Hmm.
power.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, 100%. And where you said self, I think I didn't expand upon this enough earlier with the selfish intentions. I I think the way social media, the world, just the kind of how our society is going, it's like everything has to be altruistic, right? So you just have to give just for the sake of giving, right? And hope nothing in return. And I don't think, but in practice, that's just not the case, right? Your doctor doesn't treat you because he loves treating people. Like that's part of it, right? Maybe they do love being a healer or helping people, but they're also getting a fat paycheck every month, right? So it's like when and just because people get something in return for your help, does that discredit what they did for you? No, not at all. Right? You started on case selfishly, right? This is what you needed, right? Like, is anyone in business just to help out people? Yes, they are in there, but is that their sole reason? Would they continue putting their life and soul into it if it wasn't bringing in some revenue? For some time, some people might, hoping for an upturn, but for the ones that don't have that upturn, what happens? They close down and they go get a W-2 job. And for those who stay, you know, they have some compensation for the help they did. And where I want to tie this into is that with Uncaged, you started it selfishly, but that was the thought. I don't think I told you at the retreat, but it was like to be able to bring together a group of 100 people, even though it was 20 or 30, and then for them to be that cohesive, that takes a skill, right? That takes networking, it takes charisma, it takes hours of work to be able to convince people like, hey, this is the group for you. And so I want to give you kudos to that because that's something I thought was like, wow, for someone to be able to do this, right? You see it in the military, right? There's very persuasive leaders, they're very pragmatic leaders, but the reason they had that chance was because their soldiers were forced to have to give them a chance, right? And then even if they didn't listen, you know, they still had to listen to them. But and so once again, thank you for bringing everybody together at Uncaged because I don't know too many people that can bring a group of strangers together off the internet and then make them as close as they are now.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate that. It means a lot because like I do care very deeply about what we're doing here. Because like I said, man, like I've searched for something like this for fuck a long time, right? And I've been burned by quite a few other organizations. I wouldn't call them similar, but similar, right? Like I was
Hmm.
looking for this in those. And you know, dude, I always took it really hard and heavy when I got to the top. Um, inside these organizations and found out like those people aren't who they really say they are. Like they don't.
Hmm.
It's ironic too, like how deep this community goes. Like I ran into a buddy in the gym, and I only know him from the gym, and like our daughters go to school together and stuff, different classes, so we don't really talk, but at the gym, and he's looking at joining Uncaged, and he's been very involved. Like he's been in ran speaking events with like Tony Robbins and stuff. Like he's very well connected. And we had that conversation in the gym today about like, man, you get around some of these people. Like he literally was like, I can't say his name, but like, so if I said his name, I'll text you after. But like, he said his name, and someone that a majority of us would know. He's like, bro, like we were doing an event at one of Tony's events, and I met this dude, and like I like left the room and was told who it was, and he was like, "That's who that was." He was just like the level of dynamics between who their online persona is and who they want you to think they are versus who they are in real life. I was like, man, like that's the thing that like I have to protect the most, and not that I've never faked a persona, I've never faked anything, but it's like that's in my head. I'm like, why is it every one of these people are like that? I was like, is it them, or is it like does the success go to their head? I was like, I don't know what it is, but like how do we protect that from happening? So, in Uncaged, like I created a bunch of opportunities along the way to kind of keep that from happening before it ever gets there. Like I don't make all the decisions anymore, right? Like I'm just one person, one
Hmm.
perspective, one personality, one persona. Like how am I supposed to think that like I just got all the answers that helps everyone? It's not. It's the power, the knowledge is in the collective group, not just a
Oh yeah,
singular person, bro.
100%. And I like that. The power is in a collective group. You bring good people together, and I think that's, if you bring good people together, the group's going to collectively increase. When you bring low quality people, the average will go down, right?
Mhm.
Or if you bring a lot of low quality or and a lot of high quality, but you don't have that middle ground, there's going to be a lot of discourse, right? There's going to be resentment from the bottom. There's going to be judgment from the top. Um, and so staying on that even keel, bringing, solid people that make good additions to the group, I think is vital, right, to continue the success that Uncaged has had.
No, man, I think that's super important. And, it's something that, I try and welcome, open opportunities to have conversations like this. Like when it comes time for like, hey, what's Uncaged doing right? What's Uncaged doing wrong? What could we be doing better? What do you love? What do you hate? Things of that nature. It's something that's like super important to me, which is why we have basically
More
open.
frequent retreats for sure, more often, and not on Valentine's Day.
I know, bro. Dude, we were trying something new. Thought it would be a good move. Learn that lesson. So
I,
here we
I think it would be, but I didn't have enough
notice.
time by the
Yeah.
time by the time it was sent out because I was like, oh, can we go? We already got our trip planned in Miami. It's just like, oh, we're going to Florida. It didn't make sense, unfortunately, this time.
Yeah.
It's
We'll catch
but I'm
y'all again, bro. And
oh,
that's also
100%.
well, yeah, we love involving the spouses, the wives, the families, like just letting them understand why we do what we do, like why we care so much, why it's so important to us, and like why they matter. So
Hmm.
it's definitely a big focal point for us for sure.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I agree. I'll catch the next one. I don't know when's the next couples retreat.
I'll get the dates. It'll be Q3.
Okay, that's not
Yeah,
too far
yeah,
away.
but we
These
got
years
the
fly by.
dates planned already,
Okay.
so I'll get those out. Well, sweet, bro. I appreciate you spending the time here with us and just chopping it up. Is there anything that we can do for you to pay you back for the time that you spent here with us today?
Follow Clay Pay Solutions.
Clay Pay Solutions. There you go.
That's it. That's it.
If y'all need help finding Clayton, you can reach out to him directly, obviously. But if you have any issues whatsoever, you can obviously more than welcome to hit myself up or anyone on the Uncaged team or anyone in Uncaged. I'd be more than happy to connect y'all with him. Other than that, we appreciate y'all for hanging out with us. And if you got something on it, please share it with someone that you think could extract the same level of value. Other than that, we love you guys. We'll see you soon. Peace.